What's going on, everyone? So, JJ Redick actually made a move to the starting unit, which I love to see. He implemented Cam Reddish into the starting unit and brought D'Angelo Russell off the bench. In my opinion, this was huge. This is something that I talked about here on this channel, talked about it on AIS The Lakers Show, actually did a dedicated video to that very thing over on AIS The Lakers Show. Just because Cam Reddish gives you that size, that wingspan, that versatility, but more than anything, that athleticism and point of attack defense. Also worth noting, he started as the point guard, right? And the reason I want to bring this to attention is because I see a lot of comments when I've talked about Cam Reddish and mostly Jared Vanderbilt on having them play the two, right? And going with like a Rui and basically the same lineup you saw today, just with, Cam Reddish instead of Jared Vanderbilt. And I always get comments from people that are like, you're crazy. You can't play Vando at the two. You can't do that. Makes no sense. But again, well, for paper's sake, they just started Cam Reddish at the point. Did he play point guard tonight? No. Again, paper, this isn't the YMCA. This is the NBA, right? Most lineups and positions are for defensive purposes, right? Like not necessarily where people, this isn't, again, the Y where it's like, okay, well, our point guard has to be the point guard. Our shooting guard has to be the shooting guard. No, like you can put them anywhere. And like I've talked about Jared Vanderbilt and now Cam Reddish, you can have him up on the top, helping rebound, those long ball rebounds, get out in transition, create turnovers, and just be athletic out there on the perimeter. But D'Angelo Russell coming off the bench, which I want to give up credit to DLO, right? It's been one game, so we'll see how this plays out. But the reason I want to give credit where credit is due is because I've been very critical of DLO. I know many of you have been very critical of DLO, and yet he bought in coming off the bench, which it's mostly been his fault, right? The pouting and stuff. But I do think credit is where credit's due. And D'Lo came in, good spirits, came in and actually made an impact. Give you 18 points off the bench for a team that's averaging 20 a night off the bench, right? So like D'Lo by himself gave you the average that this bench is doing. And if he's willing to buy in and accept that role, that would be huge for the Lakers going forward. Right? Because now you have him to elevate the bench unit and he can kind of be himself, right? I talked about how D'Lo was really phased out. Why? Because they're running everything through Austin Reeves. And because they're running everything through Austin Reeves, you don't need D'Lo out there in his playmaking stuff, and he doesn't rebound well. And if he's not shooting, he's kind of pointless, right? Like he serves no real purpose out there on the basketball court because he doesn't defend. He's not a hyper athlete. He doesn't apply excellent rim pressure, although this game he did. But he's not a guy that's just blowing by his defender, getting to the rim at will, right? On most nights. So the issue with D'Lo is that like he's completely phased out. You got to trade him or bring him off the bench. But the problem is his production when he goes to the bench usually just tanks. I mean, it's in the gutter. And you could argue he can't be much worse than he's been, so far this season, but be surprised, right? A lot of it has been him, pouting. You get a cryptic tweet on X, right? Like from D'Lo, and D'Lo's not very happy. He's not very committed. And he talked about in the offseason that he wanted to be a better professional, that he wanted to buy in more to the team, wanted to, show that he's not the guy that he's been portrayed as, and he took accountability, right? And so now you have this moment where D'Angelo Russell is going to come off the bench and he fully buys into it. And if he'll continue to buy into it, right, that's huge for the Lakers. Because you talk about a guy that can give you 15 to 20 a night off the bench, that automatically basically doubles our bench production. And then you get Christian Wood back, right? So now you have Christian Wood and D'Angelo Russell, and then if Dalton Connect kind of find his flow and he can get himself going. Also, Max Christie. Personally, I think the Lakers should keep Max Christie in the rotation. Gabe Vincent is giving you absolutely nothing. I mean, the guy is unplayably bad. The dude's playing 16 to 18 minutes a game and literally giving you goose eggs, right? Now, look, Max Christie has not been great by any stretch of the imagination. One guy's 28, one guy's 21. They're both have been booty, right? Give me the guy with the better upside, which is Max Christie. If Max Christie can kind of figure some stuff out here, and you can kind of be patient with him through his ups and downs, they're doing it with Dalton Connect, right? And then now if D'Lo is on the bench, now Max Christie doesn't have to be the sixth best player every night. Now Dalton Knecht doesn't have to be the sixth best player every night. Now those two can be the seventh or eighth guy on any given night. And then if you bring in a Christian Wood back, right? Well, now they move down to, the eighth and ninth guy, right? Like it changes things for them. And again, Gabe Vincent isn't giving you anything. If he was playing well, and was like, not even crazy, right? Like 7-3-3, but just excellent defensively, being a great point of attack guy. I'd be like, you'd be crazy to do that. But Max Christie gives you better size. He gives you better rebounding, right? Like he's not giving you much offensively, yes, but neither is Gabe Vincent. So give me the upside potential that Gabe Vincent doesn't give you, that Gabe Vincent just doesn't provide. I'd rather go with the Max Christie, let him get through his hiccups. Also, if you really do plan on trading Gabe Vincent, I know the argument is to build Gabe Vincent's trade value, but he's been awful. And chances are no one's trading for him anyway, for him, the player, right? Like if we're trading Gabe Vincent, it is likely to a team like, Chicago for, Zach LaVine, or the Blazers for a Jeremy Grant, right? Like, and teams will look at it as like, okay, well, we could pay Gabe Vincent one more year after this year, $11 million, or we could pay Jeremy Grant, $30+ million every year for the next 3. And same thing with Zach LaVine, right? Like that's why teams would be looking at a Gabe Vincent. And so to me, it's like if you can get him going and you can get him cooking and kind of, because he was supposed to already have this figured out. Right? Like, if Darvin Ham would have played him even 12, 15 minutes a game rather than playing Taurean Prince 40, Gabe Vincent would have already went through his hiccup year. He would have already went through the bad stretch. And he'd probably be a better productive player this year. But now you got to go through that. And you're seeing the same thing with Dalton Knecht, right? The roller coaster. But it's fine. They're young. They're learning. You kind of need to get through that. Right? And also, it's 8 games in. Like, what does he look like 20, 30 games in to where it's like, okay. And look, I'm not saying you shouldn't trade him. I'm not saying he's untouchable. I'm not saying anything like that. It's just, if you told me right now, Gabe Vincent or Max Christie, give me Max Christie. And the counterpoint I've seen, because I've talked about this before, counterpoint I've seen is, well, you're not valuing playoffs, right? What Gabe Vincent gives you in the playoffs, right? Okay, well, you have to make the playoffs, right? Like, why are we talking about playoffs and whether he's a playoff performer or not when we're 500 on the season, right? Like, I don't care what Gabe Vincent does in the playoffs if we don't make the playoffs, if he's not contributing during the regular season, and then if Max Christie come playoff time is, giving you nothing, then you can always just bring in Gabe Vincent, right? There's going to be nights where he's still going to get minutes and he's still going to get opportunity, right? Just like Gabe Vincent or Max Christie right now. I just think you need to get Max Christie personally. But to steer it back to D'Lo, because I kind of went on a Max Christie rant, which is, I think, important. D'Lo just unlocks and helps so much for this team if he's willing to really buy into this role. And it may bolster his trade value as well as him going forward for new contracts. Because teams aren't looking at him as a sixth man. Teams are looking at D'Lo as a guy that he wants to start. He wants to be the starting point guard in this league. But if he's willing to come off the bench and give you production off the bench, now all of a sudden teams might go, you know what? Like, hey, man, we could see him off the bench. We could use a playmaker off the bench. It may really raise his value. It actually might make him, a more valuable player for the Lakers to potentially trade and work out. But regardless, whether you trade him or not, right? Like, if D'Lo's willing to come in, buy in, and give you, I'm not even saying he has to give you 18 a night, but if he can give you, 15 and 6, say he averages 15 and 6 off the bench, that's huge. And you can let D'Lo be D'Lo, right? Because you can now put Austin Reeves and LeBron James on the bench. Something that I talked about last year with Darvin Ham, right, was that Darvin Ham kept putting LeBron and D'Lo on the bench together and letting Austin Reeves be the primary and sole playmaker, and he can't do that. He can initiate, he can bring the ball up, he can do stuff, but he doesn't handle ball pressure well. He's not a great dribbler under pressure, right? But you have LeBron out there to where if he is struggling bringing the ball up, he can just kick it to LeBron, or you can do, the by the committee thing where, Reeves kind of fades out and then, AD comes up or whatever, right? Like, you have options out there, particularly with LeBron, because you can get LeBron the basketball and he can brain it up and get you in your actions and then just hand it to Reeves and then he can do his thing, right? But with the bench unit, now with Reeves and LeBron going to the bench and you're bringing in DLO, well, now DLO, he gets to have the ball in his hands where he's at his best. He gets to wheel and deal. He can run that two-man game with Anthony Davis. And then when AD goes to the bench and Jackson Hayes or Koloko, or if we get a Walker Kessler or somebody, now DLO can run that two-man game with them, right? Christian Wood, when he gets back, right? Work on that two-man game with him. Opens up the floor shooting-wise. And look, if he's having one of those games where he's just shooting the lights out and he's just cooking everybody, then yeah, maybe you close him. Right? Maybe you close him over an Austin Reeves, or maybe the defense isn't as big, so it's like or over a Rui Hachimura. Maybe Rui just doesn't have enough. Right? Like just because you're not starting doesn't mean that you can't close games or stuff like that, depending on how you're playing and what your role is. Right? I think that this is huge for the Lakers. Now you get some athleticism, you get some foot speed, you get some size into the starting unit. Also, could D'Angelo Russell win Sixth Man of the Year? I don't think it's that crazy. All right, like if he gives you 18-6 or 16-6 or what, basically his average, right? If he gives you his average off the bench, he's probably winning MVP, or if not, going to be close. And with the Laker bump that you get for voting and stuff, he might actually win it. Right? Like if I'm him, that's my motivation. Like let me go get this sixth man. Let me go win this award. Right? Like let me go pull this off. I think I can do it. Right? Like just change your mentality. And I think it'll open up so much more for him and the Lakers, and then, potential trades, or, if he looks to leave in the offseason, whatever, right? Or if he's willing to buy in, hey, we could use him off the bench, right? Help with our bench production. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you think that this is huge? Potential to unlock the Lakers even further, kind of allow them to take another step, take another leap. I still like Jared Vanderbilt. Right, but he just, until he gets healthy and 100%, which if he evers, and I do think that there is an argument to trade him just because he's $10 million, right? Especially if D'Lo is cooking. Do you package everyone else and just keep D'Lo off the bench and then run and go get some upgrades to the starting unit, right? If Christian Wood and them come back. It's kind of a thought. But anyway, again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, love to hear it. Either way, let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot, so we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.